Episode 21, Cars. Guys, I'm not a camera guy. I'm just doing my best out here to produce a podcast. And the thing's fully charged, and there's plenty of memory, and I'm just trying out here.
Dude.
But the audio is there, so I guess that's all that matters for a podcast.
Your resume on this podcast is head of the pod. Like, what would you say? Host?
Co-host.
Host.
Co-host.
Sound technician.
You're a co-host as well.
Okay. You're the sound technician. You're the video guy. You're the set guy. You check.
No, you do the setup, dude.
Check all the
crush
boxes.
the setup while
Yeah, but I didn't buy the van.
I set up the media stuff. You crush the actual setup, which I do want to. We gotta talk about this later and get a nice little. I want to get a real podcast set in here somehow, but I'm gonna do that after I organize because look at this disaster. I wish you guys could see in front of us.
No, you don't.
Absolute disaster. I'll organize it. It's all right. We'll figure it out. That's what we're doing here. We're figuring it out.
It's not
We're
a disaster.
only on episode 21.
21.
Actually, I want to say I can't believe we're on episode 21, but we're only on episode 21. That's good stuff. Cool. Let's jump into it. We prefaced it last week, aka a couple minutes ago. I'll reread the question and we'll jump into it.
Yes, sir.
So, I didn't even shout her out on the last one, but this question is from Nicole.
Nicole, right?
My bad, Nicole. We get a shout out this time. You get a whole episode.
That's true.
You get a whole episode. So
She's
thank
special.
You. Special. Nicole's question was, there's a lot of talk about probiotics and gut health lately. I'm wondering when it comes to probiotic-rich foods like coconut coat, yogurt, kimchi, or sauerkraut, is one of them healthier or more effective than the others? And that is going to lead us into an entire topic on gut health, baby. You love some kimchi and sauerkraut, huh?
Fuck you.
What?
Yeah, I hate them.
Yeah, you got problems.
No, I like pickles, though.
You do love big pickle guy. Yo, you know who else is one of the probably bigger pickle guy than me? Joey.
Joey?
Joey loves
Our
pickles
Joey?
and pickling. Yeah,
Nuh-uh.
loves it, dude.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he got the whole. I'm pretty sure he got the mason jars and all. Because, dude, it's so easy to pickle stuff, and we'll get into it. It's just all fermentation, but it's just vinegar and then whatever veggie. So like cucumbers for your case.
My
And
oh yeah,
season- and
because
seasoning.
the one place I go to for Mexican, they do pickled cabbage on
Yeah.
top. Fire.
Yeah.
But at work yesterday, I needed like a snack. I said, just give me a bowl of pickles.
So good,
I'll
dude.
down them right
You
now.
know what pickled cabbage is?
Are you trying to trick me?
Sauerkraut.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so
It
then
is a
technically
little
I
different,
do
though.
like sauerkraut.
It is a little different though, because sauerkraut does have a little bit more of a process.
It's like watery though, sauerkraut, isn't it?
yeah, that's the vinegar.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's the vinegar.
Yeah, not a fan.
It ferments in vinegar.
Yeah.
Well, I'll explain that.
People
though.
do like that?
I'll explain that because that's the whole thing with sourdough too. Ooh, that'll be good. Because we'll talk about sourdough when we get to. I have a list of. The way we're gonna set this up is I have like background info on it. Then we're gonna go through some of the things that negatively impact gut health, and then positive stuff. The positive stuff we'll get into sourdough, sauerkraut, kimchi. Bro, I can go in right now. Just have a spoonful of sauerkraut.
It's disgusting.
So good.
You put it on your hot dogs?
If I were to eat a hot dog,
I was just joking. I know you don't.
but yeah, I put it on everything.
I put that on everything.
Everything.
Alright,
Everything.
That's sand, by the way,
Yeah,
just in case.
for the sandbags if I need a little extra.
That's
Well, I
it.
didn't finish fitting. Like I filled them up, but they're definitely not the weight that it's telling me. I have a scale too, and it wasn't. They were close, but like it doesn't feel right. So just in case I have to
Over,
add
under, or both?
Under.
Depending, under.
under, but it's under in the weight, but I can't like add any more and close it up. So I got to figure it out. But yeah, it's a big box of sand. That's like 30 pounds of sand right there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Straight from
Bro, that was
Avalon?
straight from Avalon. That was a day. That was
Is it
terrible.
wet? It looks darker. Or is it like did you go down towards the water?
It was I was all the way at the top, but it rained the day before, so it probably is a little wet. But sitting in here too, bro, that was 550 pounds of sand I put into those bags.
Yeah, it's a mess.
and I got more bags coming. I got it's actually pretty cool for that sled right there. Remember I had the metal plates,
Yeah.
the iron plates, way too loud and just way you can't manage them. I got sand plates, dude. They're sick. They're shout out this company Lionheart. They literally make sandbag plates. So it literally looks like a donut with a little hole in it. So I'll fill those up.
I gotta see these.
But then, dude, it's cool because I'll put them on there. But then that's just like a good. They have a handle too, so that's just a good like another weighted thing that we can add to the workouts.
How much are these?
80 pounds and then the under is 100. Yo, when I lugged that thing back from the beach,
Did you throw it on top of your
threw
shoulder?
it on the shoulder, dude.
Well, so you went one at a time, obviously?
Yeah, had to. Because I didn't have the cart at the time either.
Dude, that's a mess.
Bro, it was a workout.
Yeah, of course.
And I did a run before. Bad idea. Bad idea. Yeah, bro, I tossed the 100-pound. I actually had to fire carry, like throw it over one shoulder and just, oh.
Bad?
I felt like a dog, dude.
Was it bad?
So bad. The 80 pounds, I was able to go both. Dude, what does that say? All right, we're going to take another pause in a second.
Relax.
Nothing frustrates
It's okay.
me more.
I know.
No, because it just doesn't make sense.
I know.
Yeah, the 80 pounds I was able to actually put on my back, dude. You feel like, I don't know how to explain it, but you literally feel like a dog, dude. When you have that much weight, like you're carrying like natural weight.
You
like
wanted
that.
to hit your chest.
Dude,
You wanted to.
Yeah, but I was just like, ooh. Just like I felt like a monster.
Just barking at him.
And then if someone was taking a picture of me, then I'd be like, oh, jeez. It's not what I thought I looked like.
All right, fix camera. Let's go.
All right, camera fixing. We'll jump into it.
Good.
Yo, you know what's so funny about last episode and all these video interruptions? You gave me a shout out on all the media stuff. Or was that last episode or this one?
This one.
You gave me all the shout out with all the media stuff, and look what the hell's happening.
It's just a shout out. It doesn't mean you were doing a good job at it.
Wow, that's such a good point. Well played. All right.
This dude's posts are so good. They're so direct.
Yeah, I love him, dude. He's awesome. Let's jump into it. Because I don't even know where we left off after that little short break. But we're getting into gut health anyway.
Yeah, we are.
So, do you have any questions? We're a disaster today, huh? Do you have any questions leading into gut health in terms of like the basics, or should we just roll? You want me to just go with the punches, start with the kind of general information and go for it?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I wanted to give this a little intro because a little background on why I was so excited about the gut health
Did you
episode.
want to answer her question, or you want to answer
We're going
throughout?
because
The whole thing's going to answer it?
Yeah, because her question's around the specifics of food, of like what are good for the gut. So that's towards the end.
Cool.
Because I have a whole list.
Sorry to cut you off.
Well, because I want to go through. We got to go through the basics,
Right.
the understanding, and then
I need them.
It makes sense.
I need the basics.
But I wanted to say the reason I was so excited about this gut health episode.
You were overly excited.
Dude, gut health is so important to me.
Never think about it.
And it's because of Nick.
Yeah.
I have personal experience with my brother. Shout out Nick. I don't even think he listened to this. No support. That's kind of messed up. You better listen to this one. But for real, shout out Nick. I don't know if he wants me to share this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Nick has his entire life, since he was like 10 years old, 12 years old, has been battling with Crohn's disease, which is IBD, irritable bowel disease. And ever since I started getting into the health stuff and I realized like, oh my gosh, I have this awesome ability to help people through nutrition and healthy lifestyles, I really looked into Crohn's, IBDs, IBS, and just gut health in general. Went down this huge rabbit hole. So I personally have done a lot of the research on it. But the reason it excites me is because I want to give a little brief on where Nick came from and where he's at, because, dude, it is unbelievable what he's done. He was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when he was like 10 or 12 years old. Crohn's disease is a bowel disease in your gut. So what happens is every time he would eat, he had severe inflammation in his large intestines. So every time he ate anything, it would just trigger that inflammation, and he would get massive stomach aches, so he wouldn't eat. And that's why a lot of Crohn's and colitis patients are very skinny when they're going through it. It wasn't until like, I don't even know when it was. We're probably like 3 to 5 years in now at this point, where Nick was like, he like I was doing my own nutrition coaching for about 2 years at this point, and he was like, or maybe a year. It was only a year, and he was like, dude, let's go. Like, help me. I want to take a more holistic kind of approach to this. How can I help? So I
And
did
what was he doing at the time to like get through it for those 10 years meds?
medication and just living a normal adolescent slash young adult life
With pain?
with yeah, well, the meds definitely help with the pain for sure.
Yeah.
And then he had to get very common in these diseases, he had to get surgery, so he got part of his intestines removed.
Yeah.
But the thing with the surgery, dude, is it comes back. So if you're just doing kind of like that normal lifestyle with medication and then just kind of going on with it, the surgery comes back. It never really goes away. With Nick, when he came to me, we did a combination of course, his medication after the surgery, and then all the stuff that we're about to go through. But moral of the story is, dude, one of the best things happened about 5 years after he started, but then this was like a year or two ago. His doctor told him that there was no signs of Crohn's disease when he got checked again.
Yeah. Me and him were talking about this.
Post-surgery, bro, it's just unbelievable. And he changed nothing other than, he's still taking medication. He did nothing other than, he was always an exerciser. Now he's a marathon runner and is crushing it there. But it was his nutrition, dude.
Yeah.
He completely changed around his nutrition, and it changed around his life.
Yeah, it's crazy.
His life. He was dealing with a disease, and it changed. And we touch on this with the big three. I get deep sometimes about
it shit's heavy.
How heavy it is, dude. But so that's why I was so excited, because, dude, the personal experience, what I got to see Nick go through to where he's at now, man, it's like, one, how freaking cool it is, but also I know how many people are out there that could be helped. Because here's the difference. There's IBD. That's a disease, right? That's kind of like this. The way I kind of compare this is like type 1 diabetes versus type 2. Type 1, you're kind of born with. You kind of just get kind of luck of the draw.
Mm-hmm.
IBD, you can obviously lifestyle go and get IBD, but IBD is like very luck of the draw, I guess I'll put it that way, where like type 2 diabetes or IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, that's lifestyle related. You kind of eat your way into it, or you live a lifestyle into that condition. Same as type 2 diabetes, you eat your way into it. So that's a good way to think about the difference between IBD, irritable bowel disease, and irritable bowel syndrome. He had a disease, but in terms of like how to fix them, it's all the same, which is the crazy part. So if we can significantly help Nick, who is battling with a disease, think about all these people that are dealing with a syndrome. And dude, IBS, the rates of IBS right now are skyrocketing. I don't have the numbers, but are skyrocketing. Everyone has some form of intolerance, whether it's gluten intolerance, dairy intolerance. You have celiac disease. You have leaky gut syndrome. You have, I mentioned gluten intolerance. You have all these things, but that's all these things that are just gut related. What we actually touched on before we started recording this was the mental aspect, because you asked me about, I think there was another question that came up about, didn't ChatGPT come up with a question that was like something about the mental aspect, which we're going to get into?
It did, yeah.
So that's all outside of the mental stuff, which is crazy, dude. So that's a little background on why it's so important to me, why gut health is so important in general. Outside of that, dude, when it comes to immunity, when it comes to digestion, absorption, inflammation, mood, hormonal control, the gut is, it's even like very well known in science to be called this the second brain. And then that's going to go into the gut mind connection that we'll talk about later. So hopefully that kind of relays the importance of it. It's just everything. It's literally our second brain.
Well
we want to
said.
treat it like our brain, right? If you want to treat it like how we look at any of the dementias, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, right? We treat those very seriously. I'm going to do it. I can't even fix this thing. I don't know what's going on. We're going to have no video for this episode, unfortunately, but we'll still get through it.
All right.
Think about it that way, right? The way we kind of look at those, we should look at gut health the same. It is our second brain. It's that important. So Everything that goes
I
into our
never
body.
looked at it that way.
Yeah, everything that goes into our body. This is one of my favorite things I like to say. Everything that goes into our body either puts us closer or further away from all those conditions and diseases we just mentioned. How crazy is that? Every single thing. This coffee, is it putting me closer or what? I would say it's neutral. Either way.
I don't think it's putting you closer.
Nah, that's why, yeah. And I don't think it's putting me further away.
I don't
But
know.
just
There's
as an
some
example.
there's some very good studies on caffeine. I don't know how it relates to gut health in general.
That would be more for the beans in there because I think antioxidant wise, but side note. All right, so that's my why. Any comments on that before we go into the specifics?
No, I was talking to Nick about it like 2 weeks ago, and he told me more of the same. It's just remarkable.
Unbelievable, dude. It's
We talked about like how he was going through it in his college years for like a little bit of a span, and was asking him if it was drinking related, and he was like, yeah, of course it plays a factor, but like I was just all over the place, and once I dialed this in, he's like, dude, it's insane.
insane.
Which is crazy to think about.
But dude, what's crazy is like, but it makes at least like if I'm trying to pull myself back and think about it from someone who's not in the health space's perspective, doesn't it make sense that stuff that we eat that's directly in contact to our gut is going to have an effect on? Well, I guess not because especially the connection to the brain, but everything that we consume is going to have effect on our gut health, the health of literally everything going on down there.
Yeah, I mean, logically, you put it out that way makes you almost feel dumb,
right? But
if you're like, no shit, but like nobody, I don't connect those dots.
Yeah, that's
like
what I'm
just because
saying.
like I don't. If I go to eat food, I don't think anything more than just going to eat food. I don't think about what it's doing.
right.
Everyone thinks about the calories and stuff. Everyone's so hyper focused on calories. I think sometimes you lose sight of everything else that it affects. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like I can have this thing because I still have 200 calories left in my deficit, or I have 200 calories left to get back to even. But you don't necessarily think about like, well, even though it's only 200 calories, what's it doing?
Well, so we touched on it last
Get
episode
so caught
too
up in.
about Lauren's question about the subcutaneous belly fat, and that's what I was saying. Like, dude, that's another reason I just focus on quality, because if you just focus on the quality of the ingredients, when it pertains to gut health, dude, it's insane how much of a difference that'll be.
Yeah.
You can't, like, when it comes to gut health especially, you can't, I mean, it'll definitely improve, but don't expect to just track your calories alone, just the quantity of food that you're having, and think it's going to have the same effect, because it won't. But it will be important, of course.
Before we get into the next thing, when that camera shuts off again, right?
Just leave it.
Just leave it.
All right.
And here's what I want you to do. I want you to keep going.
No, dude, it's more that it's an expensive-ass camera,
I know it's making you mad.
so it should...
I could see it. But here's what I want. We're going half forward. We're serious
We're
now.
going backwards still.
I want you to keep rolling. I want you to not get rattled.
No, again,
I
dude,
know it's pissing you off.
When there's... The thing's expensive.
I know.
So it should work when you fucking click the button.
Whoa.
Yeah, I gotta beep that. No, dude,
Kid show. It's a kid show.
Well, no, we have the explicit thing because...
That's because of me.
I'm 20 episodes in, that was my first one.
I know. It's because of me.
I
I got a potty mouth.
No, dude, it's just because it's expensive.
I got
You
it.
spend
But
a
what
lot
I'm
of
saying
money.
is, control the controllables. Okay, that's not getting fixed right now.
Well,
tried.
I can control it in some way, which is part of the problem.
I know, but it's obviously not getting controlled the right way.
It's not getting fixed.
Right. So let's just keep it rolling.
I know, but
I know.
we got a lot of good feedback about the video.
People love the video on
It's a
Spotify.
4K camera too, dude. I wish I could read it because I would know, but
It's
quick.
We're good.
The
error message is so fast.
It gives you no time to read it.
Literally, how could you get over there that fast?
You can't, and I can't see that far even with glasses.
My glasses.
Probably need a new prescription.
All right, let's go.
So
let's go.
To start this, have you heard of the microbiome?
Just through you.
Yeah.
The gut microbiome.
This is very important to understand, and then
I don't even know what it is, but I've heard it just from you.
Quite simply, it's a microbiome is just a family of bacteria.
Healthy or not healthy?
Family of bacteria in general.
Ah, okay.
Great question. Because that gets into what kinds of bacteria are in there. So we have healthy bacteria.
This lays in your gut.
Yeah, and we have unhealthy bacteria. And we're talking, I mean, our microbiome is like trillions of little bacteria, right? So we have healthy gut bacteria and we have bad gut bacteria, unhealthy gut bacteria, all in the same microbiome, right? All in the same family. The health of your gut is going to be determined by that ratio. Do you have more gut-friendly bacteria or gut-harming bacteria, right?
It's a numbers game.
We're going to go through some of the positive things for the gut. They're going to feed the good gut bacteria.
So you excrete the bacteria, or
No, it stays in there. It's family. So,
like, you turn it from bad to good, or does the
I would think about it more as
bad
like
end up leaving?
more like feed and kill, feeding the good,
Oh, okay.
and then killing the bad.
Got you. Well, now you make me sad. I don't want to kill anybody.
We want to kill the bad ones because that's
I know.
causing inflammation.
I know. I'm not a war guy.
That's causing diarrhea.
I'm not a
That's
war guy.
causing stomach aches.
Yeah,
We want to kill them.
I guess. Violence is never the answer in my case. Keep it going.
I'm not even looking at
Keep it going.
I'm not looking at the camera.
I saw you look.
I look. Well, because I want to read it. But
I know.
so that's our gut microbiome, right? Have you heard of probiotics
Yes.
before? So probiotics are healthy gut bacteria.
Probiotics, prebiotics?
Prebiotics are the probiotics food.
Prebiotics. Go again.
So probiotics is what makes our gut healthy.
So that's probiotics is healthy bacteria.
Yes.
Got you.
Prebiotics is the food for the healthy bacteria.
Nice.
Nice, right?
Wait, so do you intake prebiotics through food?
Yeah.
Or does your body end up turning it into prebiotics?
No, you there's prebiotic rich foods.
Gotcha.
We'll get into it. And yeah, so probiotics are the good bacteria. Prebiotics are the food for the good bacteria.
Nice.
What's the food for bad bacteria? What increases the bad bacteria so aka makes you
Do I know
more
the name of
unhealthy?
it?
No, just say yes.
No, I know, but do I know what it is?
Yeah, but I'm saying it's more of a general list of foods.
Fats.
Yeah, processed food, unhealthy foods. Unhealthy
what's
processed
the
foods,
actual?
you're right.
Yeah.
Unhealthy processed
What do I
foods,
get?
yeah. Fist bump.
Let's go.
So the whole idea here when it comes to gut health, dude, is we want to optimize this gut microbiome. We want it to be diverse, which means like we want to try to, in as many ways as possible, feed the good gut bacteria, feed the probiotics with prebiotics, but then now we can also supplement with actual probiotics too. But this is going to quite literally affect our digestion of food, our absorption of food, how our gut feels. And by the way, the digestion and absorption is very important for like micronutrients, so vitamins and minerals, but then also our metabolism, so how we burn body fat or how we eat, what foods that get stored as body fat or whatever too.
So for someone who, like in Nick's case, he switched his whole diet, but what was there one thing that he mainly focused on? I know it was a total switch up, but like, hey, we really want to pound the prebiotics or the probiotics, or it was more just like, if you change this diet in general, the rest will come.
Step number one was quality of food.
Yeah.
And then we got into like supplementation.
Then you can
and
get
stuff
into
like
the
that.
details.
We supplemented with supplements.
Got you.
Huh. That's what their name is.
So you got into the details, but you didn't major in the minors to start.
Exactly. We majored in the majors.
And then we can break it.
Then we got into the minors because he crushed it right off the bat. So quality of food was the major.
I'm doing this thing.
Carson. I truly don't think you realize how much you've taken away from just the pot alone.
I'm a better man for it.
You are.
I know.
All right, so let's paint the picture.
I can't paint. Not an artist. Not an artist.
All right, fun fact for the crowd.
You got the art gene in you? Is that what you're about to spill?
I won the art award in 8th grade in middle school.
Nuh-uh.
Got up on the stage and everything.
What did you do?
I painted a picture of myself.
Hell yeah.
But it was one of those like with the numbers and you just literally just fill it in.
That's okay.
But
why are you taking it away from yourself?
No, I'm not, because
you weren't outside the lines
I was
at all.
so meticulous. Dude, it took me forever. I would go after school. I was a dog. I'd grind that thing out.
You wanted that award, and you went and got it.
I had no idea it was a thing, and they called my name, and I had no idea. I didn't know it was a thing. So it was just out of pure passion.
Let's go.
Perfectionism, honestly.
Yeah. I didn't know you had that in you.
Yeah. Dude, before I got into I always wanted to get into graphic design and like Photoshop. That's why I love this media stuff.
Yeah, I remember at LaSalle, you used to put
I took the Photoshop class.
Yeah, but you also used to put the like C Club videos. You had iMovie up all the time.
All the time,
you were always editing.
This is funny. I was streaming video games on Twitch, like in high school.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I posted videos in high school. Back when Vine was a thing, I was posting.
You were a gamer,
dude.
Too.
Like, if I stuck with it, like because I was on it so early, who knows?
Who knows? Logan Paul?
No, I wouldn't want to be that famous, dude. I don't want to be famous.
I know, but you said who knows?
But he was there.
He was
the reason
in the
they're there
beginning,
is because they were OGs.
Yeah.
But no, dude, I always loved like that media stuff. But then I like switched to marketing. That was terrible, and then got into the health stuff. But I love this. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You were all over.
How did we get into that? Side note? I don't know.
Paint the picture, you said.
Oh, and you said I'm not a painter. Oh, so...
I don't even know what picture you asked me to paint.
No, I was going to... I said, does that paint the picture of... Is that a good starting point for gut health?
It's a great
Does that make sense
point.
now?
Yeah.
So we're quite literally just... We're managing this microbiome. All right? Everything that goes in is either going to positively impact our microbiome or negatively.
These are all in your intestines?
It's all in your gut. All in your gut.
Thank God the camera's off.
Yeah, so not the stomach. Not the stomach. Right, your stomach, what your stomach does, this actually will be pretty interesting for people too. So the way food, when we eat it, food starts breaking down, starts getting digested in our mouth. We have salivary enzymes that start off right away. So we do have some absorption in our mouth. Then it goes to our esophagus. Our esophagus pushes it down to our stomach. Our stomach is what has the acid in it that breaks down the food completely. Some food gets absorbed in the stomach, but then it goes into the intestines, right? The small and large intestines. That's where the bulk of the absorption, so from the intestines to the body to the blood, happens, right? So when we talk about like carb fueling for athletics or whatever to get it into the muscle, it has to be broken down. Some of it gets actually absorbed in the mouth. But for the most part, it has to get absorbed and down so they can go to the bloodstream, then go to the muscle. So all of this is happening in our intestines.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So think about it for Nick. He had to get part of his intestines removed. That was the inflammatory part. That was the part that was just, I mean, it was different with the disease, but that was the part that was getting affected the most, which was affecting his microbiome. So, cool.
Well said.
We touched on it. Some of the negative things that impact gut health, right? So feeding the bad gut bacteria.
This is a whole separate question, and maybe an episode, I don't know. But you were just talking about how the food gets there and it hits your stomach first, right? Mm-hmm. Does that acid in your stomach ever get fucked up?
Acid reflux?
Is that
ever heard of it?
Yeah, heard of it.
What is happening with acid reflux? It's your stomach acid coming back up into your esophagus.
What causes that?
Essentially, I mean, to keep it broad, all these negative things.
Gotcha.
Processed foods, inflammatory foods, so like
just
processed
fucks with
seed oils, processed fats.
The acid?
Yeah, because
is that like what agita is?
It doesn't know what it is, dude. I don't know. I don't know what agita is, honestly.
I think it's just...
Yeah.
Acid
reflux is... Yeah, it's coming back up into your esophagus because it doesn't like what's coming in. So, if it doesn't want to push it down to the intestines, there's only one other way to go.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it wants to push it the other way, or it has to slow it down too. Dude, that's why that burn feeling when you have acid reflux, how dude that it's a horrible feeling, and people that are dealing with that chronically, terrible, terrible. But it's all stems from all these similar things. It's just stuff that your body, it's your body's way of reacting and saying like, yo, I don't want that in here.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of that thing. So it's gonna have negative outcomes from it. So we mentioned ultra processed foods, right? Preservatives, added sugars, anything in a package like that, all that kind of stuff. Unhealthy dietary fats, seed oils, you name it. We kind of all have that idea of it. Some other things: alcohol and smoking. Alcohol is one of the smoking, of course. When we're talking about smoking, like cigarettes, like especially because that's going to really affect your esophagus. But I want to hone in on alcohol because I've been looking into a lot about alcohol, dude, and I actually just listened to a podcast, Diary of a CEO. Have you ever heard of it? Really good podcast, Stephen Bartlett. But he just had an addiction doctor on. She goes deep into alcohol and how it affects your body. And I knew this coming into it, but like, bro, what one drink could do to your gut lining is terrible. Some of these things, have you ever heard of leaky gut? Some of these things quite literally create little holes in your gut, in your intestines. And what happens is some of the nutrients in our intestines or things in our intestines start leaking out of our gut and go into our body. Not good, causes a lot of problems. But alcohol is one of those things that does that significantly. Processed foods do that. This is outside of the microbiome problem. So, yes, alcohol completely negatively impacts the microbiome. So you have that. You have the negative gut bacteria just going haywire. But more importantly, you have this thing called leaky gut. And it's quite literally making these holes in your gut lining that is leaking out nutrients, leaking out things in your gut into your body that is so bad, dude. So bad. So
irreversible?
Yeah. If probiotics, if you do everything you're supposed to do, I absolutely would say so. Absolutely. Other stuff. Chronic stress is so bad for your gut.
How do you fix that?
Chronic stress, you got to fix your acute stress. You got to fix your sleep, the big three. Yeah. You got to fix your lifestyle. A lot easier said than done. That's why I wanted to mention it's so hard, because how do you fix it? There's no fix for it, but you can mitigate it and you can manage it way better. So chronic stress, I'll say stress in general, that affects your gut barrier, your gut lining as well. Definitely affects your microbiome, but primarily your gut lining. Sleep, microbiome. It's insane how these are just repeating. And
yeah,
then,
they are.
Sedentary lifestyle, so sitting, your hours of sitting. Because sitting down is going to slow your digestion. One of the best things for your digestion is to actually be up and moving, right? You want to let gravity help kind of with the digestion. So just moving your body, taking steps. That's why taking a 10-minute walk after you eat is one of the best things that you can do for digestion.
I keep hearing that after dinner, go for a walk.
Think about it, when you're stepping,
it makes sense.
You're like you kind of have that like downward force on it, so you're pushing so your gut doesn't have to just work on like it's called smooth muscle. We have muscles in our organs, so like our esophagus has smooth muscle that pushes the food down. It doesn't just have to rely on that. Now you have the gravity helping it out. Yeah. So lack of movement, and then also there's something called gut motility, which is like when we break down food, what actually happens, it like churns it, right? It like grinds it up. So moving helps with that like grinding of the food, so it helps break it down and get absorbed better too. So movement, dude, it's insane, right? And then I'll just throw a honorable mention, pharmaceuticals and antibiotic use too.
Nice.
Not nice.
No, nice throwing.
Yeah, but not nice.
Well,
significant studies showing leaky gut, that creating those micro holes in the gut. Scary. So, I mean, lot of negatives. You know, as a pod, we don't like to focus on the negatives. We like to focus on the positives.
Big positive, guys.
But Bro, how crazy it is. We literally every episode except for the last one, we probably mentioned the big three.
Yeah. Because
And
they're
how
so important.
and how it goes into everything.
If you're a listener of this podcast, by the end you're gonna know the big three.
Mhm.
If you don't already, it's like rinse and repeat.
That's fine. The mono big three.
Yeah, rinse and repeat.
So for Nick, going back to Nick's example, one of the biggest things that he did, so I mean he touched on like basically all of these. The ultra processed foods was of course one of the big ones, but he didn't have a bad diet to begin with. It was for him, alcohol for sure was a big change for him. Not big change for him personally, but just big change in his gut.
Yeah.
Because he significantly reduced the amount he ate. His sleep, he significantly, and then also just as he got healthier too. Talk about chronic stress. One of the biggest chronic stressors is going to be a disease, because it's a chronic disease. So it's a long-term stressor. It's a long-term thought. So when he was able to control a long-term disease, that long-term stress mitigated too.
He much like you have just like a different mindset.
He's a dog, dude. Absolute dog. So that stress, he's been improving his sleep and then in movement. He's a marathon runner, but he wasn't running marathons in the beginning.
So he just started focusing on the big three.
Yeah, in the beginning he was running. He was doing 1 to 3 miles. He was lifting weights. He was kind of doing that hybrid thing that we just went through in the last episode. So nothing crazy, dude. Just a normal workout routine, movement routine, healthy, good quality nutrients, and then those were all the majors we focused on. Then we got into the minors, and we'll touch on some of those with the supplements and like the specific foods too.
Now he's running 10 miles at a 6-minute pace.
Yeah, let's give him a little shout out, because what he's actually doing. We mentioned where he came from. The dude is already completed a sub 3 hour marathon. He did that in Chicago last year, and I think it was like October. Awesome event, number one, but awesome race for him. Now he's running Grandma's Marathon in Duluth, Minnesota, coming up. It's a very well-known Boston
Minnesota,
qualifier.
yeah.
He is going for around 250. Boston qualifier right now is about probably sub 255. To put that in perspective, he's going to be running around like a 6:15 to a 6:30 minute per mile pace for 26 miles. He's going to be running at that pace for 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Yeah, it's
at a 6:15 to 6:30 minute pace, dude. That's insane.
Yeah, it's wild. I gotta
for
go to
anyone.
I gotta go to that Boston Marathon.
Oh, we'll be in a screw.
Yeah.
So all right, let's jump into some of the positives.
Let's go.
All right, so we talked about the microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
Probiotics are,
Fed by the prebiotics.
but probiotics are
Good, healthy.
good gut bacteria.
Yeah.
Prebiotics are the food for it.
Yep.
So all the bad bacteria, we just learned how to feed the bad bacteria, right?
Yes.
That's going to cause inflammation. That's going to cause gut problems. We didn't touch on the gut-brain connection in the beginning.
We did not. And why don't you touch on it now?
We'll touch on it now before we go into the positive, because it's so important.
It can be a positive.
It can be, but it can also be a negative.
Correct. So let's hit it.
Bro, so this is really hard for people to make the connection,
I've never done it.
right? Because they're completely in separate areas, right? You have your gut, it's on your torso, you have your brain on your head. But the wild part is they are directly connected, correlated. And this also makes sense why we're calling the gut the second brain too, because they're in communication with each other. But like, what's weird is to think about something that you're eating is going to have an effect on the gut, but then is going to go back up and have an effect on the brain.
Well, so
I understand why that's hard to make that connection.
So most things, when you dumb it down, it's logical. Like you think it through. Yeah, that makes sense. Like that's logical. This one isn't
one's
so
not.
logical to connect the dots.
Yeah. So not logical? Illogical? Is that what you said? Yeah, 100%. Now,
It's not as black and white.
no, correct,
Yeah.
correct. Because it's literally, if you think about the pathway, it's going down.
Right.
But then to say that it's going back up,
Right.
it's weird. But there's a direct correlation between the two. It's called the gut-brain axis. the gut-mind connection. But they're actually quite literally connected. There's this nerve. Actually, I think we mentioned on the pod the vagus nerve, because I remember you were like gave me just a stare when I talked about it. But there's this
That
nerve,
happens often.
There's this nerve called the vagus nerve that goes from our brainstem through our diaphragm, which is that muscle that controls our breathing, and then goes into our gut. So what's happening is a nerve is the communication, right? It's the road. Oh, the vagus nerve. Yo, hold on real quick. Oh, the camera's not on. I love my analogies.
Right.
I love painting the picture.
Right.
We love the movie Hangover.
Love it.
The scene when they're driving into the Vegas.
Yeah.
Bro, this is so funny because when I bring up the vagus nerve, this is all I think about. What's that song?
I use quotes all the time.
What's that song that's playing when they're going to the
I can't think of it.
I can't think of the name. Bro, you know the song. The classic Vegas song. They're driving through the strip, the Vegas strip. While you find it. But think about this, right?
I use quotes from that movie all the time.
It's the funniest movie, dude. And it's one of the only movies that the 2 and the 3, the second and the third movie are just as funny. Because usually they're not.
Yeah.
But think about that, right? If we want to go vagus nerve, we're talking about that road in Vegas, that strip, right? It's a road from our brain. We got ads, bro, for YouTube.
Yeah.
Come on. You gotta get YouTube Premium. It's like $20 a month.
It says here we should work in teams.
He's so funny.
But
I don't think you should be doing too
you gotta put the mic into it.
Yeah, but the song's not on yet.
There it is.
Oh.
Wait till I get
my money right.
Whoa!
I had a dream I could buy
Banger.
Right? This is all, bro. Every time I mention the vagus nerve, I think of this, and I think of the scene of them driving in.
That's great.
But it's a road, right from your brain to your gut. So it's gonna have that direct connection. But think about that. A nerve in general is the communication, right? It sends signals from the wherever it's going into to back to the brain. So this is sending signals from your gut back to the brain. Right? So think about this connection. The best way we can paint this picture is, bro, after you eat either maybe it's a cheat day, a cheat meal, or just an unhealthy meal, you have that moment of regret, but then you also feel like crap sometimes, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Any foods that you can pinpoint, like I know when I have that I feel like shit.
It's usually more of like the greasy foods.
Yeah, right.
Than the like ice creams or like stuff like that.
Now, what do you
because
feel
the ice creams are
mostly?
great, but like
What's that feeling for you?
mine, for me specifically, mine's just more because I know I didn't need to have it.
So we're just regret.
Yeah.
But mood wise, mood
Sluggish.
change, lethargic.
Yeah.
Right, slow, bro. It's very clear that when we eat these unhealthy and processed foods, all the stuff that negatively impact our gut, it affects
Just
our
want to
mental
go to
health.
bed.
You and that's why a lot of these foods are related to anxiety and depression. Why a lot of them cause these things and chronic stress is because of this gut brain connection. Is because you bring in unhealthy foods, unhealthy ingredients. It creates that unhealthy environment in our gut microbiome. It's gonna send that signal to our brain, and it's gonna have that effect because it's just a negative cascade, right? So then you're gonna be lethargic. Your mood is gonna be low. How good do you feel after you have a healthy meal? Not only because you know it's healthy, but also because it's good quality ingredients that are going to that sending that signal to your brain.
Can't get the
Right?
song out of my
So
head.
not only is it the signal, but then also think about it. Sugar is a good example where sugar, we have what's called I'm drawing a blank. No, I'm not. Oh my gosh, dude, it was literally at the top of my head.
Can I help you at all?
No. I'll come back to it. But sugar is a good example where it's not just the signal, the communication, that gut-brain axis, the vagus nerve, that's having an effect. When we eat food and it gets digested and absorbed, remember how I was mentioning it goes into our bloodstream?
Yes.
Well, then it goes from our bloodstream to wherever. It goes to our liver, goes to our muscle, but some of it goes to our brain. Blood-brain barrier is what I was trying to come up with. BBB. Some nutrients...
BBB?
The blood-brain barrier is a barrier that controls what can cross and go into our brain and basically provide nutrients to our brain.
think we touched on this
We
before.
touched on it a little bit. We touched on it in the probably in like when we were touching on like mental health, dementia, Alzheimer's, all of these things. So not only is there that connection, but stuff can actually go through the blood-brain barrier. Sugar is one of them.
We were talking about
because
this.
Alzheimer's is also being called type 3 diabetes.
Right.
And that's because sugar is going to be digested and absorbed through the gut lining, go into the bloodstream, go up to the brain, and then it's going to cross that blood-brain barrier and go into the brain. And now you have sugar in the brain, which causes inflammation. And when it comes to Alzheimer's or stuff that causes like cognitive decline, it's because that inflammation quite literally like kills our brain connections in our brain, our nerve connections in our brain. So it slows it down. So that's kind of like the direct kind of pathway to like unhealthy and processed foods going to our brain. But then on top of it, we also have this nerve messaging system that's also causing these things. So we have that. You can think about the sugar and the blood going into it as that physical kind of relationship, where we also have this the nerve connection where it's more of like the feelings, the lethargic, the mood, all that kind of stuff. Crazy, right, dude?
Yeah, I think
Crazy.
everyone can relate to what you're
Right?
saying.
So stress. The reason that stress is such an impact on gut health is because this is a two-way communication. Your brain is communicating with your gut, and your gut is communicating back. Bro, with stress, if you're stressed and your body's stressed and your brain's stressed, it's going to send signals to your gut. What happens when you're stressed is the signal that's sent to your gut is to shut down. Hey, I'm stressed. I'm not focused on digesting and absorbing food right now. I'm focused on putting my body in a state that can manage the stuff that comes along with stress, right? Sweating, increased heart rate. We got to figure that stuff out first. We're not focused on the gut. So it's going to have less of an emphasis on the gut and try to focus on the stress. It's going to negatively impact the gut. So I'm just really want to paint the picture that all of these are interrelated, dude. Everything, right? It's fascinating.
It's kind of wild.
But it's also very hard to, one, picture, but then also paint the picture. So
You're doing a good job, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can see it.
So the vagus nerve is that messaging connection. There's a direct correlation there. But then we also had that physical connection with the foods coming in. So that's that gut-brain connection. That's all I'll go into it because we'll go into. I want to jump into the positives now, but the microbiome is what is sending what kind of signal. So the bad bacteria, when it's growing, when it's being fed, it's going to send negative signals to the gut, to the brain. So it's going to cause more incidents of anxiety, depression, lethargicness, low mood, all the negative stuff in your head.
All from food.
If you feed probiotics, prebiotics, feed the good gut bacteria, it's going to send positive signals out, dude. Mm-hmm. Right? So let's jump into some of the positives. We mentioned probiotics, the good gut bacteria. We mentioned prebiotics, the food for the good gut bacteria. Going back to Nicole's question, we'll jump big circle back.
That's
Nicole.
full circle.
Full circle. Probiotics, some of the stuff that she mentioned, let me go back to her question real quick. So she said coconut coat. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's cultures. But yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut are the ones I really want to focus on. Oh, dude, we should mention the mouthwash thing, too. That's a negative, though. Real quick on the mouthwash, Carson asked me before coming into this. He was like, yo, you got mouthwash? I was like, no, never use mouthwash. So bad for you. Reason being is because we actually... So remember I was mentioning how actually the digestion absorption starts in your mouth?
And what was my question back to you was, how can it be bad for your gut? I don't even swallow it.
Right? Exactly.
And you were like, I'll tell you.
So we have bacteria in our mouth as well. This is something that actually we saw during COVID where the gut microbiome from COVID across the board for the average person got unhealthier during COVID because we were actually sanitizing more. One of the things for good for a healthy gut too is actually some of these this bacteria coming in from outside, right? So whether that's like dirt or stuff on our hands, because it makes our gut more resilient. Kind of like working out, right?
Right.
Lifting a muscle, it's a stressor to the muscle with a positive return. same thing with some of these like environmental bacteria.
There's like a happy relationship.
So if you're using what with mouthwash, what it does is it kills your bacteria. It doesn't differentiate which
Good
bacteria,
or bad,
good
it's
or
getting
bacteria.
killed.
So you're killing your salivary, your mouth bacteria, which is going to affect your gut bacteria. So you're not allowing some of those bacteria to go into your gut system, which are going to feed or not feed the gut bacteria. That's why you don't want to use mouthwash, because it kills all the bacteria in your mouth. During COVID, we're sanitizing our hands, so getting rid of any and all bacteria, so nothing was going in our mouth. We're sanitizing everything, so we had all this bacteria. We were just killing all the good and all the bad. So our gut health actually was impacted, was less resilient during COVID as well. So fascinating. So going back into it. So yes, Nicole, all of those foods, yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut. She was asking, is one more effective than the others? Yeah, we'll go into it. But I would just say in general, those are all probiotic rich foods. So good for our gut microbiome because they feed
anything
the probiotics.
outside that.
Yeah, I'll touch on some of those.
You got a couple?
So for probiotics are found in yogurt, unflavored, low sugar. I'll say low sugar yogurt. Plain yogurt being the best. Ideally organic, full fat, grass fed yogurt. This is because that's where you're gonna get. We touched on it. The quality of the fats for Joe's cholesterol question last episode. Same thing. Quality of these probiotics and prebiotics is so key, because it's having think about this. It's having a direct. It's literally touching our gut. We want that thing to be the healthiest possible. So, low sugar yogurt. The reason I say low sugar yogurt is because a lot of these yogurts are.
Yeah, we mentioned
in
another episode. I was listening to a video and we mentioned it already, but yogurt is one thing that you can.
You know what I grew up on?
It can go positive to negative real quick. Danimals.
Go-gurt, Danimals, all of those, dude.
Oof.
Grew up on those. The blue and pink swirl.
So good. Trix.
So good. Trix is, dude.
Isn't
so
it Trix,
good.
Right?
It's the Trix Go-gurt.
Yeah.
Bro, I slap those things.
That bunny?
So that's why I have to emphasize low sugar.
I haven't seen those ads. Are they not around anymore?
Trix it's a cereal, but Go-gurt's definitely around.
Those were fire.
Yeah, but Trix is never going away,
the swirl,
dude. That's like
you're
an
so
American
right.
classic,
The swirl.
bro. Yeah. So that's why I emphasize low sugar yogurts. If you're looking at the label, they'll market probiotic rich, but you want to find.
But don't get caught up in those labels, because I've seen
you can get caught
that
up.
they market these things now like high protein, this rich, this that, and it's like
my recommendation would be go plain yogurt and add flavoring yourself. Add honey. You can add a protein powder to it.
Well
you can add
add
yogurt. You can add fruit. You can add anything to it.
Always
So
add
I would
honey.
flavor it yourself and go plain. I'm a psycho now, dude. I love just plain yogurt straight up. That soury taste, it was so good.
Wow.
So yogurt, kefir, that's just another fermented dairy product. I'm gonna touch on the fermentation part of it in a second. Sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, kombucha. You love kombucha, dude.
I tried it.
You hate it.
No, I tried it.
It's so good. But what all of these probiotic foods are, probiotic foods that contain good bacteria, dude, which are these probiotic rich foods, they're all fermented foods, right? Fermentation quite literally means like letting it go old, but not to the point where it's moldy, to the point where it can create its own little microbiome, its own little family of bacteria that's going to feed the gut, right? So when you think about pickles, you think about kombucha, kimchi, sauerkraut, yogurt, kefir. These are all fermented products. Yogurt and kefir, these are all fermented dairy products. Pickled veggies, sauerkraut, kombucha, these are all pickled or all fermented other ingredients. So kombucha is fermented tea. Pickles are just fermented veggies. So pickles are fermented cucumbers. Yeah. Sauerkraut's fermented cabbage. So fermentation, what we just quite literally mean is putting it in vinegar and letting it sit and kind of letting that bacteria build up. That's why it takes a couple of days. sourdough is such a good example. So the only breads that I eat is my homemade sourdough is because, dude, what sourdough is made out of, it's not made out of yeast, which is what most bread is made out of. The yeast is what allows the dough to rise. With sourdough, what you're doing is you're using a natural fermented flour to allow that rise to happen. So a sourdough starter is basically a fermented flour. It's a fermented dough essentially. And what you do is you have to keep this thing alive or it's gonna go moldy, dude. So you have to feed it with flour because what happens is the bacteria in there eats off that flour and then that bacteria grows.
It's so crazy.
And they go through this fermentation process, but
It's
not
crazy.
enough to go old. It's not getting moldy, but it's creating this bacteria in it that sounds like it would be bad, but it feeds our gut. So that's why these things, they're probiotic rich foods. That's why sourdough has such a different effect on us than any other bread, but more specifically homemade sourdough. So that's probiotics. That's the good gut bacteria. So again, Nicole asked, like, are some of these better than the others? Probiotic rich foods, because it's directly, right? Prebiotics are the food for the probiotics. Because it's directly having an impact on our microbiome, I would safe to say that those are the ones that you want to focus on, the probiotic rich foods. Serving size, 2 to 5 servings a day would be ideal, but just honestly more than you're getting now because these are very unique foods.
I definitely need help.
Very unique foods. For me, dude, I started to learn to like these type of foods. Dude, I was not having these from the beginning. When I first tasted kombucha, I thought it tasted like dirty socks, dude. Literally, it tasted nasty. But then
you want me to drink that?
But then, dude, with these, like, at least for me, and I don't know if this is gonna relate to other people, but at least for me, foods that I know that are good for me or that make me feel good, I'll learn to like.
Right.
So, dude, I started to like kombucha, and I started to like sauerkraut, and you always love
You didn't have to
sourdough.
learn. I was gonna say you didn't have to learn to like sourdough.
Sauerkraut, kimchi, like I love all these foods now. Plain yogurt. Because I kind of like I
There's definitely a
started
mental
loving
aspect
what
to
it
that.
made me feel,
Yeah.
how it made me feel. So those are probiotic rich foods. Then prebiotics. That's the food for the probiotics, right? It's before the probiotics.
Right.
So this is going to be some very specific foods: garlic, onions, bananas, oats, asparagus. There's no like food group. I would just look up prebiotic rich foods and just get more of them. But you'll probably realize that you're consuming some of these foods more than you think. So I really wouldn't focus on the prebiotics. Just really focus on the probiotics. And then once you get good with the probiotics, the major, then you can focus on the minor of the prebiotics and feeding them. But you're probably feeding them for the most part if you're eating good quality food. Fiber is another one for our gut health. Fiber is very healthy. So fiber is interesting though. Fiber is a type of carbohydrate. You know this?
No.
So we have different types of carbohydrates, complex carbs,
right.
Simple sugars. Fiber is another type of carbohydrate that is very different from those two because we actually don't break down fiber. Fiber's role in fiber-rich foods, what it actually does is it doesn't break down in our gut. It pushes all of our stuff, all of our feces through our gut. So when we break down food, and we absorb all the stuff and digest all the stuff that we want it to absorb, it leaves feces, it leaves poop.
Right.
That goes through our intestines that we get rid of, right? Fiber helps push that poop through. So it pushes it through our gut, through our intestines, but it doesn't actually get digested or broken down.
Gotcha.
But that's why we want a lot of carbohydrates, but then we don't want all of those carbs to be fiber. We want a lot of them. So general recommendation is like 30 to 50 grams of fiber, depending on who you are. Fiber-rich foods are it's going to be fruits, it's going to be veggies, but starchy veggies in particular. So like sweet potatoes, dude, very, very fibrous. I love sweet potatoes. But whole grains is another one that gets where it's a little back and forth. I personally don't eat any whole grains, so like brown rices, whole wheat bread, all of those kind of stuffs. But those are fiber-rich foods, so if you can tolerate them, they're going to help push through all of that stuff. I get all my fiber through fruits, veggies, and then starchy veggies as well.
Nice.
So sweet potato mainly, honestly. So fibers. Fiber-rich foods are really good. I would say those probiotics and fiber. I'll lump fiber in as a major to focus
Oh, okay.
on. Yeah, some minors. Hydration. Yeah, that hydration. Quick shout out to I want to say thank you to everyone. They blew up the hydration episode. It
that
was
was
our
great.
best episode to date by far. I think it was probably a topic thing. I hope we provide good information, but that was just an awesome episode. Hydration is going to play a key part of that. Having enough water in your system for your gut to kind of have that natural functioning is very, very important. And then just nutrients in general, dude. Another minor, but could be a major. Micronutrients, vitamins and minerals. Bro, so important for your gut. So important for your body in general. But that's the importance of good quality food, because what's going to get absorbed from our gut lining into our bloodstream is going to be all of these nutrients. But the quality of these micronutrients is going to determine whether and how much is going to go into the bloodstream and then have an effect on our body. So you know how I always say, dude, this is a good example. Talking about multivitamins. You know how I sometimes say that, like, if you're going to go with bad quality of multivitamin, sometimes it's not even worth it. Because if it's bad quality, it's not all of it's going to get absorbed through the gut lining and into our bloodstream. So we're just going to poop it out. It's going to go into our feces. So it's just going to be...
We've never really talked about this.
It's just going to be wasted money. It's and a lot of it's going to get peed out too. That's why a lot of these supplements you can just call it like expensive pee, dude, because it's not even going to be used. So yeah, dude. I mean, there's some other things that are on this list too. Polyphenols. Those are just a lot of good ingredients that come from plants. So just the emphasis on veggies. You can get a lot of nutrients from veggies.
Ooh, green tea.
Yeah. And then we touch on stress management, of course.
Dark chocolate. You ever have dark chocolate?
Bro, I eat
Do you?
every day.
Really?
I eat cacao powder, cocoa powder.
Oh, right.
I eat every day. Very rich in antioxidants too. Very acquired taste. Tastes like dirt, but I love it, dude. I put that in my yogurt, actually. Taste it up
I've
a little
seen you
bit.
do it.
So those are the positive things. But dude, at the end of the day, like that gets into some of the specifics.
I eat way too fast. And I only say that because I'm going... Anthony has, you guys can't see because the video, he has the list of like stuff he wanted to touch on. Chewing thoroughly and slowing down while eating. That was why
the video.
That was why I blindly said that. Well, they were like, if I just said I eat too fast, and they were like, this kid's like totally off the mark on what he's
Is there
talking.
something wrong with the video?
Yeah, video's gone.
I don't want to talk about it.
Been gone.
Yeah, that's just more to help the breakdown of the food, so that when it hits your stomach, when it hits your esophagus and your stomach, it's not just these like huge lumps of food. So you're just helping your stomach break it down more. I eat fast too, but it doesn't really affect me as much.
I think it will when we get older.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But for right now.
For right now.
Keep on living on.
Keep on keeping.
Yeah.
Keep on moving.
That's what I was saying.
So, bro, like the takeaway with all of the positives and the negatives. Let me ask you something. Obviously, we went into some specifics with the probiotics, prebiotics, fiber. But what is different than everything I just went through than it would be for my recommendations on losing weight, on mental health, on treating cardiovascular disease, on treating blood pressure, on everything we mentioned, every chronic disease, condition, acute disease, condition.
What do you mean? Like, how can
every topic we've gone through, dude? Is it me or is it? Am I a broken record? Is it all the same or very similar?
All very similar, dude.
Right?
We're like, for the sake of the podcast, we end up getting into details, which once you major in the big three, you can then get into details. But there's one answer. Well, there's three answers.
So
in one.
Here's why it's so important to lay this out, because this view goes against what our society is used to, right? When you think about going to get help for anything that you're dealing with, what do? You go get help for that direct thing, right? So if you're dealing with a heart condition, you're going to go to a cardiologist for that heart condition. But if at the same time you also have irritable bowel syndrome, you're going to now go to a cardiologist and you're going to go to a gastro.
Me and your brother were just talking about this on our last run. I'm not going to get into specific details about what we were talking about, but the overall mindset, it was, are you going for the short fix, whether that's mentally, physically, nutrition-wise, medication-wise, are you going for the short fix or are you going for the overall answer? And our society is built off the short fix and not the overall answer.
I want to fight you on that, though.
I don't want to go into details about what we were talking about.
I want to fight. You don't have to,
On what
because I'll fight
thing?
you on it. I don't even think these are short fixes. Because it's a short fix to that problem that comes with a lot of side additional problems.
No, that's exactly what it is.
No, but even in the short term, like all the side effects to any of those short fixes.
Short fix for that problem.
For the specific, okay, yeah. Because, dude, but then, so we mentioned you go to a cardiologist, you go to a gastro, you go to a neurologist for any kind of brain condition. But we just connected every single one of those. The heart health episode, the mental health episode, the gut health episode. We can do it for every other episode that we have later down. The endurance athlete episode, the losing weight episode. Bro, it's all under one family.
So
and hold on, let me finish real quick. My biggest problem with the way, unfortunately, we view our health is in these different buckets. We have a bucket for every single thing, and we go to something for every single thing, and we see an expert in that specific thing, which, don't get me wrong, there's absolute validity in that. And you definitely need to do that.
Very knowledgeable people.
For sure. But you need, when it comes to all these things, you have to take a huge step back. Okay? Let's even add another category into here. Because everyone deals with some kind of pain, like physical pain, right? You go to see a physical therapist. What a physical therapist does is if you have knee pain, they don't focus on your knee pain. They focus on your quadricep, your hamstring, your calf, your tibialis, your plantar fascia, your glute muscle, your hip flexor. They look at the surrounding areas that could be affected that knee pain or whatever it is. They don't say, oh, your knee is inflamed. Let me do something to your knee to fix your knee pain. No, they take a step back. They look at everything that is surrounding that area. How can we fix everything surrounding it? If we fix those things, we're not even going to directly touch the knee. Then everything we do is going to impact the knee health. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why physical therapies have such a good success rate, is because they look at the big picture. I wish they looked at the bigger picture and took a step back into nutrition too.
So this was my question. This is what my question was going to be, and it's not. Never mind.
No, go.
It's not a shot at the professionals because
they're pros, dude. They're so good at what they do.
But sometimes I wonder, and I don't know because I've never been there, but just my perception of it is you're asking us to take a step back. I think sometimes they're so caught up in their specific expertise that sometimes they don't take a step back.
Which I respect, dude, because I also have the philosophy of I only want to speak and give advice to things that I know. So I'm actually I want to say I'm happy that a cardiologist who, when they went through med school, didn't learn anything about